We're here today with Mrs. Senaka Senanayake, and we've just had a tour of her lovely house. Thank you so much for having us and having this conversation with us. We're joined by Mr. Philip Ratna. So I want to start with how did you guys get together and where did the relationship begin?
Well, I had heard about Philip from a lot of my friends. He had been designing some fabulous homes for them.
Right.
So I got an opportunity to meet him once down south where he had done this beautiful building, for my good friend. And when we met him, we thought, he would be the ideal person to do some work for us.
So just talking about our friendship, I think for me, more than anything, like Jenny and Senaka have been like brothers and sisters to me. So I think being a great artist, but still to be so humble and so approachable. And it's not just to me. I think what's amazing about this house is that everybody who walks in here is made to feel like family. And also, of course, like what you saw, all those like 5-6 dishes that keep rolling around is just a minimal thing. If you come here for dinner, there'll be like about 20 things on the table. And that's what I want to what I want you to project to Mumbai and India is this way of living.
Right.
You saw this veranda, everything happens on this veranda.
Right.
So why can't you do this back in India? And so all the talking, meeting plans, everything happens. Plus entertaining. We had something called like 1 week ago, I think, right? Or 10 days ago, we had something called a veranda dinner.
Right.
And it was amazing. All of dinner was served for about 8 of us here by Jenny, who's Senaka's wife, who's an amazing cook. And everything was just served on amazing little platters and plates that we ate out of. And what I love about Senaka and also Jenny is that all these things are not very high-browed. She doesn't serve everything on some very expensive china. She has amazing expensive china she has inherited from her family. But everything is served from things that she picks off from different places, and it's all put together. And so, it's just beyond architecture. It's about the way they live and the way they entertain and the way they have people. And that's what I want you guys to experience today in this house and in meeting Senaka is this kind of work happens from a whole lifestyle like this.
Right.
It doesn't happen with one person rigidly sitting inside a studio and just painting. It's about love, friendship, entertainment, generosity, simplicity. Some of the simplest thrill, like I know Jenny and Senaka get, is just driving around the city in their car and looking at the buildings in the night. So that's all the layers that people need to understand, and what you're trying to do through these design dialogues is to showcase what really people ask, right? What inspires somebody, and so it's that whole lifestyle.
Right. So we've clearly established that you're you're a very important personality and a brilliant artist. So a thought that always has come to me is, how do you know when you're done with a work of art? Because you could keep going, you could keep painting, you keep adding layers. So when do you know that, okay, this is enough, my work is done here?
I don't think a painting is ever finished, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
Because if I take a painting I have done 5 years ago, I can look at it and say, okay, there's something more I can do to it,
Right.
So you come to a stage when I work, I feel, okay, that's it, and we won't proceed anymore with this particular painting, and we'll go on, So I don't believe that anything is ever finished, really. I mean, I guess if you do special commissions or orders with certain specifications, then you can say there's a beginning and there's an end.
Right.
But when you're doing something very creative, it never ends, because what I feel and done today may be different tomorrow.
Right.
And I look at that same picture and I think, oh my God, maybe I could change it a little bit again, to get my message across.
Right.
So, and also it's very important to me in my painting as a painting career that my paintings really are appreciated by just the average person on the street. I'd be really thrilled if just the guy walking on the street can look at my painting and respond to it. It doesn't mean he has to love it, but just the fact that he looks or she looks at it gives me a lot of pleasure. I have communicated.
Right.
I've got my message across, and that's something that I am, very keen on.
So is that something that plays a role in the development of your painting? That this is how I want to communicate my work. What are the influences that like you said, over a period of time that the painting is never finished. So do you go back to the work of art with new influences in mind and go?
Oh, I definitely do that sometimes. But then, of course, you got come to a stage where you say, that's it. We can't keep on doing the same painting over and over and over again,
Right.
But, if you look at my art career, I mean, I started as a child artist, then I got an opportunity to go abroad. I went to a university, I went to Yale University, did a degree in art and architecture.
Right.
Because as you know, parents from this part of the world say you got to be either doctor, lawyer, or engineer.
Right.
You can't be an artist. So now there I was, and I was I majored in architecture because that was the closest thing to art. And then I got exposed to a lot of museums, galleries, other artists. First time in my life I worked with other artists. I mean, before in Sri Lanka, I was all by myself. I had no interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Here in the art school, you met so many people from so many backgrounds. Then I got exposed to all different styles of art. And it was a wonderful experience, So that all led to where I am today.
Right. So you've been working since the 1950s, which I read about.
Yeah.
And we'd really like to ask you, how do you think art has evolved from the 1950s? Do you think it has evolved, or is it?
Yeah, well, art keeps changing, no? It evolves.
Mm-hmm.
What you call art is different now than what was called art 50 years ago.
Right.
I mean, we are all into this whole thing about installations, cutting edge art, and all these things, which was not there at the time I grew up, Never heard of those things. But then that's a new form of art, a new form of expression. I don't see there's anything bad in it, but I'm just saying that it's different. So it moves on, you change, In the old days, it was the standard thing where you went and did the watercolor and you did the oil painting and, very naturalistic. Then came the Cubists, the Impressionists, the different art schools came, So like that we are now in the modern age.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that I enjoy doing it because I am not in that world.
Right.
There are lots of other great artists who are in that world, but I am in my own little world,
So we know that you are an artist of international acclaim. Your work has been displayed all over the world. And do you think that validation is something that keeps you going? That people like your work and respond to your work?
Definitely, it gives you a lot of encouragement when people look at it and when you get opportunities to exhibit in good galleries and lots of people enjoy your work. I mean, that gives me a lot of satisfaction. I'd be very disappointed if no one looks at my paintings and they just walk past and don't respond, So, I mean, every artist wants to communicate.
That's what's great, because Senaka is probably one of the only Sri Lankan artists whose work has gone out there in the international scene. And through Senaka's work, I think through his work, people have got to know about Sri Lanka. And there's a place called Sri Lanka that exists. And so I think he's really represented again, Siddharth, like if you look at this painting, he's represented the tropical spirit of Sri Lanka in what he does from his garden. He's brought it into his paintings. And he has an amazing, if you look at his book and the amazing transition of different styles of work, and that's what's lovely again about Senaka, is that it's not just he didn't do this style at the beginning, and some of his recent works are very different as well. I mean, he was very kind enough to gift me a painting.
Oh.
Right? I don't know whether that should be said on camera or not, but he gifted a painting which is very cubist and very different. And I think when you walked through my house, I showed you that.
Yes.
It's very different, and I just loved it. And that's as recent as 2024.
Right.
So,
Correct. So I keep going up and down, I mean, I was at one time fully into the Impressionist type of painting, then Expressionist, then Cubist.
Right.
Then I come back to what I'm doing now, then suddenly I go back again, That keeps me going, otherwise it's so boring to do the same thing.
Yeah.
That's the word, experiment. That's what I do all the time,
So I just want to, talk about how art has evolved in the 21st century. Now we have tools like we have AI and we have all sorts of, tools that create artwork at a click of a button. What are your thoughts on the impact of this sort of technology coming in? Do you consider it art? Do you not consider it art? Would it be validated as art?
I do not respond to it as art, really.
Right.
Because I think you don't have to be creative to do any AI stuff. You just press a few buttons and you can have the greatest painting there, So I can't relate to that. Maybe I just don't understand that word.
Right.
And it keeps developing more and more and more,
Right.
So I don't know.
So what are your thoughts on AI? Because we can incorporate it in architecture, and it has no end in usefulness.
Yeah, I think for me, the only issue, like I said earlier in one of the interviews, is that AI doesn't lacks that human spirit
Yes.
and the human touch. You can use AI maybe from a human thought and a concept, you can use AI to generate further. But this is all of Senaka's emotion. Now,
Exactly.
someone tries to do this with AI, it will lack that emotion, it will lack that expression.
Right.
And I think somebody who's discerning will be able to say immediately, but even somebody who's not discerning will probably not be moved emotionally by something that Senaka has put his emotion to, or any other artist has put their emotion.
So I want to end this conversation by asking you a very simple question. Why do you feel compelled to create what you create?
I don't feel compelled. I just love it.
That's a good.
No, I just like to paint.
Right.
I get up every single morning and nobody tells me you got to paint. But I get to my canvas and I do, I mean, some people take a musical instrument and they, play that. Like that, I take my canvas and I express myself.
Right.
That's my satisfaction for the day.
I think definitely there's no compare. I mean, I don't see any reason he's compared because he just enjoys it. And I think that's what keeps Senaka going. I mean, I really wish I will have the same energy as he has when I am at his age, because he just goes on, and I see patiently. I mean, I used to visit him in his studio, and so how patiently he spends time. What you see today, like that's why a lot of people try to imitate him, but fail because they don't understand. I see sometimes I come and see a painting, and I'd come back 4 days later or 5 days later, it's completely different because he's done this whole layering on top of it.
Right.
So, and that's the amazing joy that he gets for sitting at hours in his studio and working.
Thank you so much for having us and talking to us. It was a pleasure being here and seeing your beautiful house. And I mean, we're so happy to have had the chance.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much.